Welcome to Numismatic Vault, the channel where coins aren't just spare change, they're hidden treasures waiting to be found. In today's video, we're diving deep into the world of rare and valuable state quarters. Some of these coins are worth far more than you'd ever imagine, and the best part, they could be sitting in your pocket or coin jar right now. So get ready, because by the end of this video, you might be looking at your change in a whole new way. Top 1. Today we're going to explore one of the very first coins released in the legendary 50 state quarters program, the Connecticut quarter from 1999. At first glance, it looks like a simple 25-cent coin, but for collectors, some of these quarters have turned into incredible treasures, with values that will truly blow your mind. To set the stage, let's remember what the state quarters program was all about. Beginning in 1999, the U.S. Mint launched an ambitious plan to honor each of the 50 states with a unique quarter design. Every year, 5 states were released in the order they joined the Union. These coins instantly became a hit, with millions of Americans collecting them straight from circulation. It was fun, exciting, and even people who weren't coin collectors before found themselves filling up coin books with state designs. And the very first year of this program included Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Georgia, and, of course, Connecticut. The Connecticut quarter immediately stood out because of its breathtaking design. On the obverse side, as with all quarters, we have the portrait of George Washington, a design that has been in use for decades, with the inscriptions, United States of America, Liberty, In God We Trust, and $quarter. But it's the reverse design that steals the show. The Connecticut quarter features the legendary charter oak, a symbol of resilience, independence, and freedom. According to history, back in 1687, when King James II attempted to revoke Connecticut's charter, the colonists hid it inside the hollow trunk of this massive oak tree to keep it safe from being seized. The tree became a powerful symbol of the colonies, and later the states, defiance and determination. By placing the charter oak on the coin, the Mint not only honored Connecticut's history but also gave collectors one of the most detailed and artistic state quarter designs of all. Now, let's talk about rarity and value. Millions upon millions of Connecticut quarters were produced in 1999 at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Because of the huge mintage numbers, finding one in your pocket change today isn't impossible. However, what truly makes this coin valuable is condition and, in some cases, minting errors. Most of the coins circulated heavily, showing scratches, dullness, and wear. But a Connecticut quarter preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition can already command a premium among collectors. Coins graded at the highest levels, such as MS-68 or MS-69, are extremely scarce and can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, but what really excites collectors are the rare errors and varieties that slip through the mint's quality control. And the Connecticut quarter has some spectacular ones. One of the most famous errors involves dramatic die cracks across the tree design. Because the charter oak features so many branches and intricate details, the dies used to strike the coin sometimes cracked under pressure. The result is a coin with raised lines that look like additional branches or veins across the tree. These error varieties are highly collectible. Another sought-after error is the off-center strike. Imagine a quarter where the design isn't centered on the coin, leaving blank space on one edge and pushing part of the image off the coin entirely. The more dramatic the off-center error, the higher the value. Then there are double die errors, where the lettering or details of the design appear doubled due to a misalignment in the striking process. Even subtle doubling on words like Connecticut or charter oak can make a coin stand out and fetch far more than face value. Collectors also look for coins struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the Connecticut design accidentally ended up on a blank intended for a different denomination. These are extremely rare, but when found, they're worth staggering amounts. The key takeaway here is that while millions of Connecticut quarters exist, the truly valuable ones are either those preserved in absolutely flawless condition or those with spectacular mint errors. These special coins are like hidden gems, waiting to be discovered by sharp-eyed collectors. Another layer of excitement comes from the fact that the Connecticut quarter was part of the very first batch of state quarters. This adds historical importance, as it represents the beginning of a program that would go on to become one of the most popular and widely collected coin series in American history. Collectors who want to build a complete set of state quarters often pay a premium for the earliest examples in the highest possible grade. Think about it, a coin that most people would overlook as ordinary pocket change could actually be worth thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars, if it has the right combination of condition, rarity, and errors. This is what makes coin collecting so thrilling, the possibility that a treasure is sitting right under your nose, disguised as a simple coin. So now comes the part you've been waiting for. How much could a 1999 Connecticut state quarter be worth? Well, while common examples may only fetch a small premium, the rarest, most pristine examples with dramatic errors have been known to sell for as much as $83,000. That's right, $83,000 for a single quarter. A coin you might have once spent on a gumball could now be worth a small fortune if it happens to be one of these elusive gems. So the next time you come across a Connecticut state quarter, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. Inspect the details, check for errors, and if it looks uncirculated, consider getting it graded. You never know, you might just be holding a piece of history and a hidden treasure worth far more than you ever imagined. Top 2. We're going to take a fascinating journey into the world of the United States state quarters, focusing on the beautiful and historic New Hampshire quarter released in the year 2000. At first glance, it may look like just another coin from your pocket change, but for serious collectors, certain examples of this quarter are worth an unbelievable amount of money. So stick with me until the very end, because you won't believe just how much a single New Hampshire quarter can be worth. Let's begin with the background. In 1999, the U.S. Mint kicked off its famous 50 state quarters program. This was one of the most ambitious coin projects ever undertaken in American history, designed to honor each of the 50 states with a unique quarter design. Millions of people across the nation jumped into collecting these coins, filling albums, jars, and binders. Families went to banks just to exchange rolls of coins, hoping to complete the set. And in the year 2000, New Hampshire was honored with its own design. Now, the New Hampshire quarter is truly one of the most striking in the entire series. On the obverse, as always, we see the classic portrait of George Washington designed by John Flanagan. Around it are the inscriptions, United States of America, Liberty, In God We Trust, and $quarter. But it's the reverse side that really captures the imagination. The design features the famous Old Man of the Mountain, a natural rock formation located in Franconia Notch. For centuries, this granite profile resembling a human face stood as a powerful symbol of New Hampshire pride, independence, and strength. Unfortunately, in May of 2003, just 3 years after the release of this quarter, the Old Man of the Mountain collapsed and crumbled into the valley below. While this was a sad moment for the state, it also made the quarter even more symbolic and meaningful. Today, the design represents not only the state's rugged beauty but also a piece of natural history that can never be seen in person again. The words, Old Man of the Mountain, appear on the reverse, along with New Hampshire's motto, Live Free or Die. This motto, perhaps the boldest of any U.S. state, reflects the uncompromising spirit of independence that has defined New Hampshire since the days of the American Revolution. So why is this coin so valuable? Let's talk rarity and collector appeal. The U.S. Mint produced millions of New Hampshire quarters in 2000 at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, plus additional proof coins from San Francisco. Most of these coins went into circulation, where they were spent, traded, and carried in pockets and purses. Over time, they became scratched, worn, and lost their original shine. But coins that survive in pristine, uncirculated condition, still gleaming with their original mint luster, are much harder to find. These are the coins collectors will pay a premium for, especially when they are professionally graded at very high levels like MS68 or MS69. But what really turns an ordinary coin into a treasure are the errors and varieties. And the New Hampshire quarter has some fascinating ones. One of the most famous is the misprint or die crack errors across the rugged rock design of the Old Man of the Mountain. Because the design is so detailed, it sometimes caused stress on the minting dies, leading to cracks that show up as raised lines on the coin. These cracks can almost look like extra features on the mountain, and collectors love them. Another exciting error is the off-center strike, where the coin is struck slightly, or sometimes dramatically, away from the center. This leaves part of the design cut off while blank metal shows on the edge. The more extreme the off-center, the higher the value. Double die errors are also out there, where parts of the lettering like "Live Free or Die" or "Old Man of the Mountain" appear doubled. Even subtle doubling makes a coin stand out as unique and collectible, and then there are the truly rare errors, such as coins struck on the wrong planchet. Imagine finding a New Hampshire quarter design pressed onto a nickel-sized blank or even onto a blank intended for a foreign coin. These mistakes are extremely rare, but when they surface, they can fetch jaw-dropping prices at auction. Beyond the errors, collectors value the New Hampshire quarter for its historical significance. It is one of the earliest issues in the State Quarter series, released just in the second year of the program. Combine that with the fact that the coin honors a symbol that no longer exists in nature, and you have a recipe for lasting collector interest. For many, owning this coin feels like holding a piece of American history that can never be replaced. Grading plays a massive role in the final value. Coins certified by major grading services such as PCGS or NGC carry much more credibility in the marketplace. A New Hampshire quarter in a high grade with a dramatic error can attract serious competition among bidders, driving the price higher and higher. Stories from auctions prove that collectors are willing to pay astonishing amounts to own these rare and beautiful coins. Now, take a moment and imagine this. You're going through an old jar of coins, or maybe you're flipping through some pocket change without thinking much about it. Suddenly, you spot a 2000 New Hampshire quarter. At first, you might not think twice, it's just a state quarter, after all. But what if it's in nearly flawless condition? What if you notice unusual doubling on the letters, or maybe a striking error in the design? That tiny discovery could change everything, and this brings us to the big reveal: the value. While ordinary New Hampshire quarters are still just worth 25 cents, the rarest and most extraordinary examples have shocked collectors with their value. In fact, certain coins in pristine condition with dramatic errors have been known to reach as much as $80,000, yes, you heard that right, $80,000 for a single New Hampshire state quarter. That's the incredible potential hiding in what most people would see as just spare change. So the next time you come across one of these coins, don't dismiss it. Check it carefully. Look for errors, study the condition, and if you think it could be special, consider having it graded. You never know, you might be holding a fortune in your hands. Top 3. We're diving deep into the story of the Vermont State Quarter, released in 2001 as part of the wildly popular 50 State Quarters program. At first, it may just look like another piece of change, but hidden among the millions of coins struck are rare treasures that collectors are willing to pay staggering sums for. So sit back, listen carefully, and enjoy this exciting journey into the Vermont quarter, because you'll never look at a quarter the same way again. Let's start with the background. The 50 State Quarters program began in 1999 and became one of the most successful coin programs in American history. For 10 years, every state received its own unique design on the back of the quarter, issued in the order the states joined the Union. Millions of Americans, even those who had never collected coins before, jumped at the chance to save these quarters, making it one of the biggest collecting crazes in modern times. By 2001, we were in the third year of the program, and Vermont's turn had come. The Vermont quarter captures the essence of the Green Mountain State with a design that is both beautiful and deeply symbolic. On the obverse, we see the familiar portrait of George Washington, a design that has been used for decades, with the inscriptions "United States of America, Liberty, in God We Trust," and $quarter. But it's the reverse side of the coin that brings Vermont's story to life. The reverse features Camel's Hump Mountain, one of Vermont's most famous natural landmarks, framed by maple trees. Flowing from the trees are sap buckets, representing Vermont's proud tradition of maple sugaring. Vermont has long been the leading producer of maple syrup in the United States, and this design pays tribute to that sweet legacy. Along with the landscape is the state motto, "Freedom and Unity," words that balance the importance of individual liberty with the spirit of working together as a community. This motto, paired with the rugged mountain and iconic maple trees, tells the story of Vermont's character: strong, independent, and deeply connected to the land. But what makes the Vermont quarter especially fascinating isn't just its design or symbolism, it's the hidden rarity that lies in certain coins. You see, while millions of Vermont quarters were minted in both Philadelphia and Denver in 2001, not all of them are equal in the eyes of collectors. Most of these coins went straight into circulation, where they were spent, scratched, and worn down over time. Coins like that are still only worth face value. However, coins that survived in flawless, uncirculated condition can already be worth far more. When graded at extremely high levels, such as MS-68 or MS-69, Vermont quarters become much harder to find and far more desirable to serious collectors. Now, let's talk about what really gets collectors excited: minting errors and varieties. And Vermont state quarter has some spectacular ones. One of the most sought-after error types is the double die. On some Vermont quarters, parts of the inscriptions, such as Freedom and Unity, or even the word Vermont, appear doubled. This happens when the die that strikes the coin shifts slightly, creating a second image overlapping the first. These double die varieties are not only visually striking but also extremely rare, driving collectors into bidding wars whenever one shows up for sale. Another type of error involves off-center strikes. Imagine a Vermont quarter where the design isn't perfectly aligned. Part of camel's hump or one of the maple trees is cut off by the edge of the coin, leaving blank space on the other side. The more dramatic the misalignment, the higher the value. Then there are die cracks and cuds, where the minting die breaks slightly, leaving raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the coin. Because the Vermont design is so detailed, with branches, sap buckets, and mountain outlines, cracks often show up in visually interesting places, making each error coin unique. And of course, there's the rarest of all, the wrong planchet error. This is when a Vermont design accidentally gets struck on a blank meant for another denomination, like a nickel or dime. These mistakes are incredibly rare, but when discovered, they are some of the most valuable coins in the entire state quarter series. Collectors love Vermont quarters not only for their errors but also for the story they tell. Vermont is a state deeply tied to its natural beauty, independence, and history. By holding this coin, collectors feel connected to those rugged mountains and to the tradition of maple sugaring that has defined Vermont culture for centuries. Add in the fact that the coin is part of the state quarters program, which itself is a landmark in U.S. coinage history, and you have a recipe for long-term demand. Now, let's think about what this means for you. Maybe you've got a jar of quarters saved up, or maybe you've inherited some coin collections from family. If you come across a Vermont quarter from 2001, don't overlook it. Check carefully. Look at the details under a magnifying glass. Is the lettering doubled? Is the design off-center? Does it look unusually shiny, almost untouched by time? Those could be signs you're holding something truly valuable, and this brings us to the moment you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While most Vermont quarters are worth just 25 cents, the rarest examples in pristine condition with dramatic minting errors have been known to reach astonishing sums. Some of these extraordinary Vermont quarters have sold for as much as $78,000, yes, $78,000 for a single state quarter. Imagine pulling that out of your change without realizing what you were holding. That's the incredible thrill of coin collecting. You never know when a simple coin could turn out to be a hidden treasure. So the next time you see a Vermont quarter, take a moment before you spend it. Look it over, appreciate its design, and remember that it might just be worth far more than you expect. Top 4. We're going to talk about one of the fascinating pieces from the legendary 50 state quarters program, the Michigan State Quarter, issued in 2004. It may look like just another coin to most people, but hidden among the millions that were minted are rare examples so valuable that they could change your life. So listen very carefully, coin lovers, because you don't want to miss the details that make this coin such a treasure. The story of the Michigan Quarter begins with the 50 state quarters program itself. From 1999 to 2008, the United States Mint released 5 new quarters each year, each celebrating the unique history, symbols, and pride of an individual state. This program became a cultural phenomenon, introducing millions of Americans to coin collecting. People who had never thought about coins before began saving them, hunting for missing states, and even passing down collections to future generations. The Michigan Quarter, released in 2004, quickly became a favorite among collectors because of its clean design and the significance of what it represents. Now let's take a closer look at this coin. On the obverse, as always, you'll find the familiar bust of George Washington. This design, first introduced in 1932, has been modified slightly over the years but remains one of the most recognized faces in U.S. coinage. Above him are the words United States of America, with Liberty and In God We Trust flanking the portrait, and the denomination $quarter at the bottom. But it's the reverse design that makes the Michigan quarter so special. The reverse features the outline of the state of Michigan along with the Great Lakes that surround it. The design beautifully emphasizes Michigan's nickname, the Great Lakes State. Few other states are so closely tied to water as Michigan, which boasts more than 3,000 miles of shoreline, more than any other state except Alaska. The Great Lakes themselves, Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie, and Ontario, are some of the largest bodies of fresh water on Earth, and this coin celebrates Michigan's unique geography in a way that no other state coin does. Surrounding the design are the inscriptions, Michigan 1837, marking the year Michigan entered the Union, and Great Lakes State, along with the date of issue, 2004. At first glance, the Michigan quarter may seem common. After all, tens of millions were minted in Philadelphia and Denver. But here's where the story gets interesting, not all of these coins are equal. While most went into circulation and were quickly spent, scratched, and worn down, a small number survived in pristine condition or with striking mint errors that make them incredibly valuable. Collectors always pay special attention to condition. A Michigan quarter that has never been circulated, showing no signs of wear, can be worth much more than face value. When graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, coins that reach top grades such as MS68 or higher are considered exceptionally rare. The number of surviving coins at that level is very small, which is why their prices can skyrocket at auctions, but condition alone isn't the only factor. Minting errors and varieties are what really get collectors excited, and the Michigan quarter has its fair share of fascinating examples. Let's break down a few of the most valuable ones. One of the most famous is the double die variety. On some Michigan quarters, you might notice doubling on the outlines of the Great Lakes, the state borders, or even the lettering around the edge. This doubling is caused when the die shifts slightly during the minting process, creating the appearance of a second, overlapping image. These varieties are scarce and highly collectible. Another exciting error is the off-center strike. Imagine looking at a Michigan quarter where the state outline is shifted off to one side, leaving a blank crescent of metal on the opposite side. Depending on how far off-center the strike is, these coins can range from moderately valuable to extremely rare. The more dramatic the misalignment, the higher the price collectors are willing to pay. Then there are die cracks and cuts, which happen when the minting die develops breaks or flaws. These imperfections leave raised lines, bumps, or blobs of extra metal on the coin's surface. Because the Michigan design features sharp outlines and detailed water borders, die cracks can appear in unusual and eye-catching spots, making each error coin unique. And let's not forget about wrong planchet errors, one of the rarest kinds of all. This happens when the Michigan design is accidentally struck on a blank meant for another coin, such as a nickel or a dime. Because of the size difference, parts of the design are cut off, and the coin looks completely unusual. These wrong planchet errors are extremely rare but have sold for jaw-dropping amounts at auctions. Collectors love the Michigan quarter not just for these errors but also for its symbolic meaning. Michigan's identity as the Great Lakes State is captured perfectly on this coin, making it a favorite among residents and collectors across the country. Combined with its place in the legendary state quarters program, the Michigan quarter is both historically significant and potentially very valuable. So what does this mean for you? It means that the next time you're sorting through pocket change, jars of coins, or even inherited collections, pay close attention to any Michigan quarters you come across. Don't just glance at the date, look carefully. Check for doubling, off-center designs, unusual marks, or even an exceptionally well-preserved shine. That simple habit of looking closer could be the key to discovering a hidden treasure. Now for the moment you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While most Michigan quarters are worth only their face value of 25 cents, the rarest examples in pristine condition and with dramatic minting errors have stunned collectors and auction houses alike. In fact, Some of these Michigan state quarters have sold for as much as $76,000, yes, $76,000 for a coin that most people would overlook as ordinary change. That's the magic of coin collecting. You never know when an everyday object might turn out to be a piece of history worth a fortune. So, coin lovers, remember this: every coin tells a story, and some of those stories are worth more than gold. The Michigan state quarter is proof that even the smallest piece of metal in your pocket can carry incredible value. Keep searching, keep collecting, and you just might be the next lucky person to discover a hidden gem. Top 5. We are exploring one of the fascinating pieces of American coinage that many collectors overlook, but should not: the Guam quarter from 2009. At first glance, it may seem like just another piece from your pocket change, but as we'll soon discover, hidden among the millions of Guam quarters are rare and extraordinary examples that could be worth a fortune. So make sure you listen carefully, because what you're about to learn could make you look at this coin in a whole new way. The Guam quarter belongs to the United States Mint's celebrated District of Columbia and U.S. Territories Quarters program, which was introduced in 2009 following the huge success of the 50-state quarters program. This was a continuation of the idea that had inspired millions of Americans to start collecting coins again, giving each state and territory a chance to showcase its unique identity, culture, and history on the back of the humble 25-cent piece. For Guam, the 2009 quarter was more than just a coin. It was a way to highlight its proud heritage, culture, and ties to the United States. Let's take a moment to study the design of the Guam quarter. On the obverse side, you'll find the classic portrait of George Washington. This image, first introduced in 1932, remains a staple on American quarters, and in 2009 it was given a sharper, modernized look for the State and Territory series. Above the portrait are the words "United States of America," along with "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," and the denomination $quarter. Below, the real story, however, is told on the reverse. The Guam quarter's reverse design is both rich and symbolic. It features an outline of the island of Guam itself, making this one of the few quarters to highlight the geography of a territory so directly. Next to the outline is a flying prow, a traditional Chamorro canoe used for centuries by the island's indigenous people, symbolizing speed, skill, and connection to the sea. Beside the canoe is a latte stone, a pillar used as the foundation for traditional Chamorro houses and an enduring symbol of Guam's strength and culture. Surrounding the imagery are the words Guam and the inscription Guahanay Tanov Man Chamorro, which means Guam, land of the Chamorro. In the Chamorro language, the symbolism here is powerful. The flying prow represents heritage and survival. The latte stone reflects stability and history. Together, with the outline of the island, the coin becomes not just currency but a celebration of Guam's identity. For collectors, this makes the quarter especially meaningful. It is both art and history combined into one small circle of metal. Now, let's talk about rarity and collector appeal. The Guam quarter was struck in both Philadelphia and Denver in circulation quality, as well as in San Francisco for proofs. Millions were minted, but as with all modern quarters, the vast majority went directly into circulation and were quickly worn down by daily use. That's where rarity comes in. Coins that survive in pristine, uncirculated condition are far harder to find, especially those graded at the highest levels such as Mint State 68 or above. The population of such coins is very small, and when demand exceeds supply, the value climbs, but condition is not the only thing that makes the Guam quarter potentially worth big money. Collectors are especially excited about coins with minting errors or unusual features. With the Guam quarter, there are several types of errors to watch for. One of the most famous is the double die error. On some Guam quarters, doubling can be seen in the inscriptions or the fine details of the island outline. This doubling occurs when the die shifts slightly during the minting process, creating a shadowed or duplicated effect. Collectors love these coins because they are one of a kind and cannot be replicated. Another exciting category is off-center strikes. Imagine holding a Guam quarter where part of the design is cut off because the coin blank was not properly aligned during striking. The more dramatic the misalignment, the rarer and more valuable the coin. Die cracks and cuts are also possible. These errors occur when the minting die develops fractures, leaving raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the coin's surface. Each die crack is unique, making every coin with such a flaw different from the rest. For collectors, these quirky imperfections are treasures in their own right, and then there are wrong planchet errors, among the rarest of them all. This happens when the Guam quarter design is struck on a blank meant for another denomination, such as a nickel or dime. Because of the size differences, the design appears cut off, instantly turning the coin into an anomaly that collectors are eager to acquire. All of these factors, condition, rarity, and errors, combine to make certain Guam quarters incredibly valuable. For most people, the Guam quarter is just another 25-cent piece, but for the trained eye of a collector, it could be a hidden gem worth thousands. So the question remains, just how valuable can a Guam quarter be? While ordinary circulated examples may only be worth face value, rare high-grade examples and those with dramatic mint errors have stunned auction houses and collectors alike. Believe it or not, some Guam state quarters from 2009 have sold for as much as $74,000, yes, you heard that right, $74,000 for a coin most people would dismiss as pocket change. That is the thrill of coin collecting, the idea that something small, overlooked, and ordinary could in fact be extraordinary and life-changing. So, coin enthusiasts, the next time you're going through your change jar or checking your cash register drawer, keep an eye out for the Guam quarter. Study it closely. Look for signs of doubling, off-center strikes, die cracks, or just that flawless luster that suggests it has never been touched by circulation. You never know, you might just discover that you're holding a piece of history worth more than you ever imagined. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the story and value of the Guam quarter. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep learning about other hidden treasures in U.S. coinage, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our future discoveries. Until next time, happy collecting, and may your pocket change always surprise you with hidden treasures.